Will the Air National Guard be moved away from the direction of governors and to the direction of the DoD and the Space Force? It's been talked about a lot the last several months, but there's still no clear answer as to what will happen. Today we talk about that and a whole lot more with Republican Congressman Chuck Fleischmann. My name is Josh Rowe, and this is Tomorrowtown, Tennessee. LP 480, Legislative Proposal 480, and it's, as I understand it, and I think you understand it differently than I do, or maybe better than I do, is a better way to say that. The Air Force is asked to take some Air Guard troops and put them under the Space Force as opposed to under the governors. It is in one of the versions of the NDAA that's still working its way through. What are your thoughts on it? What can you tell us about it?
Great question. And for our viewers, again, the NDAA is the largest authorization bill for the United States military, so everyone understands that. I actually serve on the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee of my three. I chair Energy and Water, but I fund what the NDAA basically puts into law. So I'm always on the funding side of that equation. However, I will be voting for the NDAA. The House version, the version that actually we voted for and passed, was in opposition to the Senate version that you alluded to. So the House version keeps the governor's authority and autonomy over that and does not cede it to the executive branch, to the federal government. The Senate version does, in fact, have that in there. So what will happen is with every major piece of legislation, even my appropriation bills, but especially with the authorization bills, there'll be a House version and a Senate version. They will be conferenced. So our hope would be that the House version would prevail and the governors, individual governors, would retain that autonomy. That's a personal view, but that bill will be conferenced. Ultimately, a final version will come out of that. And then members of the House and Senate, and of course, whomever's in the executive branch then will either sign or not sign that bill.
So for all of us who don't understand the process as well as you do about the conferencing,
sure,
like what happens in that? Like who decides what stays, what goes? How does that work?
It's another excellent question. Since this is an authorization bill, not an appropriation bill, we will have the House chairman and the House and Democratic ranking member with the Senate Democratic chair and Senate minority member. Those four people will sit down in a room and they will negotiate the entire package. So there'll be a House version and a Senate version. Some areas there'll be great areas of agreement. Typically, there's some areas of disagreement on terms of amounts, sometimes content that you alluded to. So you're going to get the top House Republicans and the top House Democrats on those respective committees. And that would be the Defense Committee. That would be the Armed Services Committee. Not the Defense Appropriations Committee, but it would be Mike Rogers of Alabama, to be specific, on our side, negotiating with the Democrat on their side. What will always happen is there'll be a compromise. That bill will come out of that looking different from the House and Senate version. And then, of course, both respective houses will vote on that again, and then it'll go to the president's desk.
So once it leaves conference, you go through a whole other process of voting again.
That's correct.
Gotcha.
Both houses will have the opportunity to either accept or reject it. Typically, they accept it because it is a compromise that both can live with. No one will get everything that they want, but then it will go to the president's desk. In this case, if it's still President Biden, he will have to decide whether or not to sign that. Probably he will.
Let's move on to an announcement a couple weeks ago that we talked about in the past. An announcement to bring a facility to Roane County, I believe, around Oak Ridge, to enrich uranium, which is an interesting conversation around what we know about Manhattan Project, World War II, uranium enrichment there, and I don't recall how long it's been since that has happened in that area. But this is obviously for a very different purpose. Just explain to us, because I saw the initial reporting, but explain to us kind of the context of kind of what this means for our area, but also the entire country.
Well done. I think at first I probably ought to talk about the different stages of enriched uranium. What you alluded to in terms of the Manhattan Project and the like, there is weapons-grade uranium. In this context, I cannot tell you, even though I know what that level is, but it's extremely high. This is not that, okay? However, the United States is a nuclear power. There are about 10 in the world, maybe 11, but the reality is that is uranium enriched to the highest weapons level. This is not that. TVA, our great public utility that does so much for the Valley and is led by Jeff Lyash and his team, right now has a 47% nuclear portfolio. So the lights that are on here, there's a very good chance, about a 50-50 chance, that our electricity is from nuclear power. We have natural gas, we have hydro, they have a very good and diverse portfolio. But they use something called LEU, which is uranium enriched to 4 or 5%. That is nuclear fuel, and they purchase that, and that is made. That is not weapons grade, that is completely safe. That's what you use in nuclear power plants. However, the newer versions of nuclear power plants are going to use something called HALEU. That's highly enriched uranium, which I can talk about in this context, uranium enriched to up to 20%. Usually it's 19.75%. There are two major companies in the world that are doing that. One is Urenco. They're actually British, Dutch, and German. They are in New Mexico. TVA purchases from them. Other utilities do that. Now, why was the Orano deal so important? Orano does this. They're a competitor of Urenco's. They are French. That's very important because that means as a French company or any foreign company, they'll never be able to do weapons-grade uranium in the United States. It can only be an American company. We did help start one. It's called Centrus. They build the centrifuges in my district in Oak Ridge. They spin them in Piketon, Ohio. So the American people, and I've worked very hard to get $2.8 billion in a past appropriations bill, my bill, the energy and water bill, so the United States will begin to domestically enrich uranium again. So I set the stage for that. Let's give credit where credit belongs. Governor Bill Lee and his outstanding team, and I'm going to be specific, Brandon Gibson and Stuart McWhorter, worked exceedingly hard with Roane County, Wade Cresswell, and the city of Oak Ridge. Within Roane County, Oak Ridge is in Anderson and Roane counties. This is Roane County, to attract a company that was looking to come to the United States, Orano. Orano enriches uranium. They actually reprocess uranium in a place called Le Havre, France, very famous in World War II. It was a port city that was involved right outside of Normandy. But they've done it for about 60 years. And they came to me, the governor did, and the Orano people, and there were certain things that they asked me to try to get done. And I was able to accomplish that. Orano's CEO, it's a gentleman by the name of Jean-Luc, told me personally a month and a half ago he was going to go to his board in France and try to get them to come to Tennessee. Josh, this is the biggest deal in Tennessee history. It's a 40-year TIF. It's an incentive program that will probably be between $5 and $7 billion. Why is that important? We will be domestically enriching uranium again, not only LEU, but also HALEU. And this will provide the fuel for not only the existing reactor fleet, which is going to grow in America, which is necessary, but also for our future nuclear fleet, the Generation 4 reactors that Bill Gates has with TerraPower, that Cam Kafarian has with X-Energy. The reason we needed to do it in Tennessee was we would have lost this, I'll be candid, specifically to a state like Idaho that is very heavily in the nuclear field. They're a tremendous pro-nuclear state, but I will tell you this, after dealing with myself, Governor Lee and his team, the local leaders there, Orano said it was abundantly clear it had to be Tennessee. Thousands of Tennessee jobs, but the impact for the America's nuclear renaissance, just like it was the birthplace of nuclear in Oak Ridge, the Renaissance will make sure, and this will ensure, that Tennessee will continue to be the leading state in the nation on new nuclear.
There was something mentioned, I forget which candidate said it, in the Tim Walz, J.D. Vance debate the other night about, someone said, we haven't had a new nuclear facility built in some odd years. But we know where we live, 5 minutes up 58, you're going to see Sequoia, and that's very present here. And that may be true that a new one hasn't been built, but as you're mentioning, there's a lot of work being done in this space in this country, and this is a great example of the work that's being done.
And I fund all of that through the energy and water bill for our viewers. And sometimes it's very difficult. We know here sometimes the newspaper doesn't print things that we're doing, and I respect that. But you always flush it out very well, and I so appreciate that. The reality is the energy and water bill that I write as chairman of that funds the entire Department of Energy. What does that have? The entire nation's nuclear arsenal is under the NNSA, under the Department of Energy, but all of this other work that is dealing with civil nuclear, and our adversaries are building these. China has 6 of these SMRs up and running. They are doing this. Russia does a lot of things wrong, but they do nuclear very well. They produce a lot of HALEU. We have cut off their HALEU. I voted for that ban. President Biden signed that law. So we're going to need domestic enriched uranium. So we have that ability to do that. That is my bill. That's actually what I do. So I'm not only helping Oak Ridge, I'm helping all of the reservations. We're not shutting anybody out, but my priority is the great state of Tennessee and making sure that we maintain that key leadership role. So whether it's at ORNL, our great national lab, that is working through a partnership that I structured with our friends at EPB. It's mutually beneficial. I'm bringing great people together, whether it's quantum computing, supercomputing, new nuclear, to make sure we absolutely continue to work together. Because Chattanooga's resources are as impressive to Oak Ridge as Oak Ridge's resources are to Chattanooga.
A big thanks to Congressman Chuck Fleischmann, and a big thanks to you for listening to Morrowtown, Tennessee. This podcast is a production of News Channel 9, Fox Chattanooga, and Sinclair Broadcast Group Chattanooga. I hope you join me again real soon.